Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. Glad to say it's good to be back after a week-long Thanksgiving break. I'm thankful for a lot of things. Thankful for a great family, for great friends, great supporters throughout all these years, all my 10 years of music. But what I'm not thankful for is the fact that I just saw a portion of a story about a teacher being fired for tying a child to a chair at a church preschool. Now, this wasn't just a preschool, it was also a daycare center. Mind you, you send your child to school and they come home telling you that he or she was tied up by their teacher. You don't go into teaching for the money, you do because you care. But when I hear stories about teachers abusing a child, it leads me to believe that they don't care about the children. And as you're about to see, these parents are furious. Take a look.
My stomach was in knots. I mean, it has been ever since we found out about it.
A text message she never expected.
Just to think that you're handing your kid off to someone and they've been there since she was 8 weeks old, you'd think that they would care for her and want to let us know if something did happen. But apparently that was not the case.
Parents Victoria and Slade say this happened on November 14th at New Prospect Baptist Church Preschool. According to them, the teacher who took the photo reported it to the interim director the same day. But the family says nothing was done, so the teacher quit a week later and sent the photo to the little girl's mom.
She's always loved her high chair. I mean, she'll color in her high chair, she'll paint, eat, things like that. It's always been a good, safe space for her. And we noticed that week that she had started whining with it.
We reached out to the daycare directly for comment, and they sent the following statement saying, quote, "The incident was thoroughly investigated by proper external agencies, and the responsible staff member was immediately terminated on November 20th when we became aware of the policy violation." But this isn't the only violation at this facility. We went through inspection records and found 4 issues reported in November. Another inspection in May found bleach was used to clean around the children. Victoria says that incident also involved her daughter.
She came home with bleach spots on her shirt, and we messaged the daycare at like 9 o'clock that night and said, "Hey, why did she come home with bleach stains on her shirt?" So they didn't notify us until after we had said something about it.
Victoria and Slade have taken their daughter out of this daycare and are looking for other options.
Whenever we picked her up, I didn't want to let her go. I didn't want anybody to hold her, just wanted her to stay with me. But I think the wait lists and things with daycares are so long right now, and it's really hard to know if it's a place you can trust.
Reporting in Anderson, Christina Feliciano, Fox Carolina News.
Becoming a nurse.
You've got to report it. And what you also need to do is to say, because I'll tell you this, if you're thinking about taking your child to a licensed daycare center or to a licensed preschool, you've got to ask the tough questions. That way they know that you're being very serious. You can expect to walk up, drop your child off, and not expect them to come home with injuries, consisting with the fact that not one person reported it. It is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous indeed. No comments yet. But I'll tell you this. Where are the parents? I mean, not parents. Where are the other staff members that are involved? One person, she quit. This person did something she wasn't supposed to do, quit her job, and then sent her the pictures anyway. But the other story was she was terminated. Their side was, she was terminated. But she said she quit. How can you quit and then be terminated at the same time? If you quit with a 2 weeks notice, then you automatically quit. But if you quit before you're being fired, How can you do that? Haley, I quit. Okay, you're fired. Does anybody see the problem here? If you say you resign from your job because of all these incidents that have happened, maybe you should be suspending her with pay so that way she can work it out. Without pay, so that way things can be worked out. Training. Going to work the next day, you gotta be trained on how you can do so. So that something like this doesn't happen again. And if you were to be in someone else's shoes, you wouldn't be having something like this ever happen to you, would it? Probably not. But either way, you will never know, and you wouldn't even know, and yet not one person would be understandable. All right, we got some Project Baltimore to catch up with. Coming up, we have, and believe me, we do got some catching up to do with Project Baltimore. Coming up, we have 4 stories in Project Baltimore, including that police story, and how the state of Maryland spends your tax dollars. 4 Chris Patch reports that I believe you don't want to miss. So stay with us. I said before the break that we had 4 Project Baltimore stories. We actually have 5 stories to catch up on. So we're gonna do a little Project Baltimore. We're gonna do some Project catch up here. You can't mustard because you gotta catch up before you can get the mustard. You don't get the joke. You gotta catch up. So we're gonna play a little catch up. So if you've not heard of OmniAlert is an AI tool used to detect weaponry. But in Baltimore County, that weaponry system has not been used. How come? Because not many schools are familiar with that new tool. Other than it being a waste of everyone's tax dollars. So what does that tell you? Here's Chris Papps.
In your opinion, do you think that AI weapons detection software works? Sergeant Clyde Boatwright is the president of the Maryland Fraternal Order of Police.
I think that it is flawed.
He's also a Baltimore City Schools police officer.
There's a difference between feeling safe and actually being safe.
Boatwright has been watching Fox 45's recent reporting featuring the AI-driven weapons detection software OmniAlert.
That technology is so new that we shouldn't be spending money relying on a technology that hasn't proven itself to be as accurate as we need it to be.
Project Baltimore last week reported on 2 school incidents where OmniAlert was installed on school cameras. First, earlier this year, during a fatal school shooting in Tennessee, OmniAlert did not alert authorities that a gun was in a school, even as that gun was being fired.
In this instance, based on the shooter's location, in proximity to the cameras, and it wasn't close enough to get an accurate read and to activate that alarm.
Then, last month in Baltimore County, police detained a teenager after OmniAlert alerted officials that the student had a gun.
That's what it looks like right here.
When police believe it was actually a bag of chips.
I guess just the way you guys are eating chips, Doritos, whatever, they picked it up as a gun.
In 2023, Baltimore County Public Schools entered into a 4-year, $2.6 million contract with OmniAlert. And now, Project Baltimore has learned of another Maryland public school system that uses the AI-based software. And there's concern from law enforcement.
When we're talking about safety of young people and getting it right every time, we have to get it right each time.
This Charles County Public Schools safety report describes an incident on April 10th of this year of a shot fired from a gun in a classroom at Billingsley Elementary School that damaged a chair. The safety report explains a student had brought the gun to school for 3 straight days in a book bag. OmniAlert, according to the district, is installed on external cameras at all schools. But over those 3 days, the software could not detect the gun because it only detects visible firearms.
If a person has a handgun and it's concealed, you're not going to be able to see that until the handgun until they produce the handgun. And once they produce the handgun, it's usually too late.
Project Baltimore reached out to Charles County Public Schools asking for examples of where OmniAlert worked as intended. But the district said it won't share specific examples. We received a similar reply from BCPS. Taxpayers are paying millions of dollars for this software. Don't those taxpayers deserve to know if it works? Because right now we have examples from school systems where it appears OmniAlert did not help keep students safe. But we have no examples where it did help.
We can't fail when it comes to the safety of our kids. So we have proven technologies in American policing, such as metal detectors, and actually the physical presence of a security officer and or a police officer.
OmniAlert is intended to supplement traditional security measures. But Boatwright worries if there is a tragedy at a school, he doesn't know who would be held accountable if it's the artificial intelligence that fails.
Community policing is the best tool that's out there in our industry, and I think that we should focus on investing more into that and not using software that's not proven.
OmniAlert told Fox 45 News it was not involved in the tragedy in Tennessee because the cameras did not detect the shooting. Project Baltimore has been in contact with OmniAlert. We are working to schedule an in-person demonstration on how the product is designed to operate. We'll keep you updated. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
So if Maryland's spending tax, if the state of Maryland, if they're spending money, doesn't taxpayers have a right to know? The answer is yes. We're paying money, and so we should have the right to know. So we're gonna have an athletic building. So we're gonna have something new for the school. Us, the taxpayers, should have the right to know what's going on. Right? Exactly. Because if we don't have the right to, if we don't get that right to know, it's basically taking away our rights, the right to know. But we'll keep following the story, and on a future show, we'll let you know what goes on. All right, coming up, there's a school that wants to get rid of the superintendent. It's probably the same superintendent we've been focusing on for years, who's superintendent in one county, but lives in a different county. Now everybody from the board and probably the whole state, the whole county is like saying, we want some changes. But are those changes going to be made? We'll find out next. Stay with us. So you want to be a school superintendent. Okay, we got to ask you some questions. Have you ever committed a crime before? No, I have not. Okay, you're hired. But what if you want to realize, imagine this. You want to become a superintendent of your schools. You get asked, have you ever committed a crime? And you say, no, I haven't. No, I did not commit a crime. But then a school person or a concerned citizen will look into your matter. Not only look into your matter, but run a background check. Not just the president, but a concerned citizen would look into your background via LexisNexis or database from a Frameworks Police Force. Look into your personal file and say, Superintendent Jack committed 3 crimes, including assault, battery, and sexual abuse of a child, and failing to appear for his court dates. If you committed a crime, that should automatically disqualify you from applying for any job in any county, right? Well, the superintendent, which you're about to hear, says, which which lawmakers say they didn't know about this. So, what else do the lawmakers have to say when it comes to hiring the superintendent who committed a crime, who was a convicted felon? And what were the charges brought against, and what were the charges being brought? Again, Chris Papps.
He was accused of stealing from a school system, and you hired him to work in the school system. Did you know of his hiring when he was hired?
I did not know of his hiring when he was hired, but again, I have a very strong HR team, and I support the team. I just support the decision.
Dr. Sean Bolson is the superintendent of Harford County Public Schools. For weeks, Project Baltimore has been trying to speak with Bolson about his school system's decision to hire Lawrence Smith.
Excited to be your child's 8th grade English language arts teacher here at Edgewood Middle School.
Now convicted criminal who faces 25 years in prison.
We hired someone who, in the community where he worked, was very much supported by that community, from my understanding. And he did a fantastic job.
Do you have any statements that you want to make to the community?
Smith, a former Baltimore City Schools police officer and state champion football coach, pled guilty last month to felony wire fraud and income tax evasion. He admitted to stealing $215,000 in fraudulent overtime from Baltimore City Schools. Smith's crimes took place between 2016 and 2022.
Why did you steal $215,000?
But Bolson says his understanding
He did a very good job in the time he was there.
was that Smith did a fantastic job in Baltimore City.
He's a federal felon.
He is now. He was not then.
What are you going to tell your players?
In September 2023, Smith was arrested and charged with 15 felony counts, many related to overtime fraud. Fox 45 first reported earlier this month, as Smith awaited trial, he received a conditional teaching certificate and was hired this past August as an 8th grade English teacher in Harford County. On October 17th, Smith pled guilty. According to the district, he was placed on administrative leave the following Monday. On November 5th, Project Baltimore broke the news that while on leave, taxpayers were still paying Smith 100% of his nearly $58,000 Harford County teacher salary. 2 days later, Harford County Schools changed Smith's leave status to unpaid. On November 12th, Smith resigned.
Hindsight is 2020.
Aaron Poynton is the president of the Harford County Board of Education.
We're all going to learn from this. We want to go down to Annapolis and help them strengthen the laws.
Following Project Baltimore's reporting on this topic, Harford County State Delegate Lauren Arkan wrote this letter urging the Harford County Board of Education to terminate the renewal of the contract for Dr. Sean Bolson. Arkan cited Fox 45 WBFS reporting, saying the decision to hire Smith clearly demonstrates a profound breakdown in judgment and oversight. Poynton replied to Arkan, saying Smith passed the mandated background check, since the charges did not legally disqualify him from employment. Poynton added he's directed the district to review hiring and screening processes to identify opportunities for improvement. He also offered to work with Arkan in Annapolis to strengthen background checks for educators to protect students statewide.
Bottom line is, in America, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. These charges were there. It did not raise a red flag that prohibited him from being hired, and he was the most qualified person to be hired.
So you're saying the most qualified person that you had to be an 8th grade English teacher had 15 federal charges against him and had just received his conditional teaching license?
We hire a lot of conditional teachers. And the fact that he had charges that were pending did not disqualify him from being hired.
On Monday, Harford County Executive Bob Cassley sent this letter to Dr. Bolson and the Harford County Board of Education, calling for an investigation into the hiring of Smith. Cassley cited Fox 45's work, saying Smith's hiring reeks of nepotism and/or gross incompetence.
The district told Fox 45 it has completed a formal review of Smith's hiring. We have filed a public records request to obtain a copy of that review. We'll keep you posted. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And we'll keep you posted on what's been going on. So, what do I stand on this? Well, here's where I stand. You know, if you have charges pending and you want to go apply for a job, and you tell your boss, well, I don't want to work right now because I have charges pending. What are you charged for? And you explain, oh, I was charged for involuntary manslaughter. I was charged for this crime right here. The hiring manager needs to say, hey, okay, since you have pending charges, I'm gonna postpone this decision until we get the charges. That's if the charges come through, you cannot apply. If the charges don't come through, meaning you're not charged with any crime to drop the charges, you're good to go. You're good to go to apply for a job. You're good to go to apply anywhere. But the law has got to change. You don't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I'm gonna commit 15 crimes, become a teacher, and I don't care what happens." We do not want rapists, sex offenders, drug dealers, we don't want any of those three around our children. What we want is for a teacher, clean, sober, who can look after the kids. We don't want alcoholics, drug abusers, druggies, former gang members, rapists, sex offenders, sexual predators. We don't want those. What we want is for our teachers to become good citizens to our community. That way, to help our kids learn. That way, something like this does not happen. But now there's a trust issue happening. When we return, we're going to look into the trust system, into the school system that's probably lost its trust because of the Baltimore County School, because of what happened. So what happened? It probably had something to do with AI. And it's something that we've been focusing on. But what does the survey actually say? And what does OmniLord have to say now when it comes to the safety of the schools? We're going to talk about that when we return. Stay with us. So, we did talk about OmniLord, the artificial intelligence tool that schools are using to detect weaponry. But there's more to the story than meets the eye. Now we're going to hear about a survey that parents were not aware of. Parents weren't aware that they're paying tax dollars at the ass for OmniLord. OmniLord didn't work for any school district. There was a bag of chips being used. Get real here. I mean, if you're going to have school safety put on the map, you need to find suitable tools that can be useful instead of just, becoming a pro hero and saying, "Oh, there's a weapon over there. I gotta go after him." Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Ow, ow. Come here, you. It would have been like the reenactment of the being of Rodney King. Jokes aside here. But jokes aside, it shouldn't happen. Parents should have been well aware about what went on. Not just concerned about the survey, but the fact that, they were using artificial intelligence. A tool basically used to detect weaponry. But now nobody else was aware until they took that survey. Not one parent here was concerned. And if there was one parent that was concerned about what was going on, it would have been taken care of properly. So now the question is, what are parents saying about this artificial intelligence tool? Again, Chris Papps.
November 7th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Baltimore County Police respond to Parkville High School after the artificial intelligence-based weapons detection software OmniAlert detects a potential weapon. But police determined there was no threat, which is a similar outcome to an incident just 3 weeks earlier at Kenwood High School.
You have a gun on you?
No. What?
In late October, a 16-year-old student was among several people detained by police outside Kenwood.
There's bags of chips. Blue. That's what it looks like right here.
After OmniAlert detected a gun on campus, but police believed it was actually a bag of chips.
So then an alert system says that you have a gun.
In 2023, Baltimore County Public Schools signed a 4-year, $2.6 million contract with OmniAlert. On November 12th, Project Baltimore first began reporting on concerns regarding the dependability of the AI software. We asked the district for all instances where BCPS has been alerted by OmniAlert to a firearm, but the school system did not provide any. The following day, on November 13th, BCPS parents and staff were emailed this survey regarding OmniAlert.
I feel like they're just checking a box.
Jen Reedholm is with the Baltimore County Parent and Student Coalition.
They want a certain outcome, and the way these questions are designed are to get that outcome.
The survey started by providing parents and staff with a brief description of what OmniAlert is and how it works. It included these 2 videos.
The total time from detection to full alert is seconds, not minutes, and it happens before a shot is fired.
Both of the videos appear to be promotional videos posted by OmniAlert on the company's YouTube channel. Also included in the survey are links to 5 BCPS communications that discuss the district's overall safety plan. Survey takers are then asked one question: should BCPS continue the use? This survey caught our attention because nowhere in this survey does BCPS provide any examples of actual shooting. Also, nowhere in this survey does BCPS mention the incidents at Kenwood or Parkville.
What I would like to know is how many times has the OmniAlert system been activated? How many times has it actually found the weapon? How many times has there been a false alarm? All this data would have been great for an informed decision to a yes or no question.
Project Baltimore reached out to the school system asking why, in the survey, BCPS did not mention OmniAlert's involvement at Kenwood and Parkville high schools. The district did not directly answer our question, replying in a statement that families and staff were informed of the incident at Kenwood High School. But that information does not appear in the survey. BCPS added that this message was sent to the Parkville community only regarding the incident in November. But again, this information was not included in the survey.
Parents want our children to be safe, but where's the data? And I think by not telling us, it limits the transparency, which is actually taking away our trust in the system.
The BCPS survey also did not include a recent incident at Antioch High School in Tennessee where there was a fatal school shooting at a school that had OmniAlert installed on cameras.
The software did not help prevent that tragedy because officials say the cameras could not see the gun. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And here is my take on this.
Plan.
Should BCPS continue the use of Omni-Learning in schools? 30 seconds, players. Good luck. Do 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 do. Time's up. The answer is fuck no. Fuck no. Why? Because a waste of fucking money. We want our kids to be safe. All parents care about these days is discipline. Why can't Johnny read? Why can't Johnny read? You know, we want our kids to go to school to get their diploma. But we hear schools saying, hey, we're going to use AI to detect weaponry, and yet the weapon was just a bag of chips, and they couldn't detect the gun. If you're going to spend money on this, you should at least be told what's going on. The superintendent and the school board must be aware that the parents have concerns. They can ask. What they should do is hold a special meeting, ask the simple questions, that way to the board and to the superintendent, and then maybe what could happen here is parents can be concerned, and on top of that, the school can be concerned and say, we've got to hold another meeting, another week or another day, and say, okay, we've heard from parents. I vote that we should terminate our contract with Omni-Learn. All those in favor? Aye. Terminate, contract terminated. Ryland Omni-Learn saying, hey, we're terminating our contract. We want our money back because of all this is happening. And yet, the folks at Omni-Learn can just sit there and say, well, we can help you fix it. You don't have to terminate this, we can help you fix it. So how can you fix it? Well, we've had all these alerts and the media up our asses. And they'll probably tell you, we do have new systems put in place, which is going to cost you a lot more money. If it's going to cost us more money, if it's going to cost us more, if it's going to cost the school more money, then we're paying more of our money to the schools when it should be used to help educate the kids. Everybody wants, because there's bad things going on in our schools, gangs, drugs, and bullying. We want safety and discipline. We want our kids to be safe when they're going to school, and what we want here is kids to get educated. So Omni-Learn should not be in those schools no more, unless it gets fixed. Next, Baltimore is now bracing for another billion-dollar deflect for their blueprint to Maryland's future. Look, we pay taxes, and our tax dollars go to our schools. But when it comes to schools spending a lot of money, and when they say they're out of money, it's like, we've got to do something. Bake sales, car washes, everything they can do to raise money. Remember Stupid in America? South Carolina wants more money. Every school district spends $10,000 per child. If you look at a graph from years ago, if you look at the graph, the line would go straight up. But student achievements through graduation rates would go flat. That extra money won't help the kids. It's the blob or the bureaucracy. That's what's wrong. But how can that be? No money, more money but no results? If it was a class of 25, it would be $250,000 per child a year. So you can give, like what Ben Chavis said, you can give public schools all the money in the world and it doesn't help. Everybody has been conned. And everyone wants to save money. But now, Baltimore is under attack now from spending too much money. They're bracing for another $1 billion deficit as education spending surges through the roof. Again, Chris Papps.
Sounds to me like the consensus is
Justin Reed, for 10 years, has been serving as a Maryland state senator representing Carroll and Frederick counties. And for much of his time in Annapolis, he's been warning his fellow lawmakers that financial pain is coming.
When you have an exponential growth in spending and you don't have the requisite increase in revenue, you end up with deficits.
So Marylanders should not have been shocked when news broke earlier this month that the state budget is facing a projected $1.4 billion shortfall next year.
We literally made the decision to put ourselves in this deficit by passing an unsustainable mandate of spending for over 10 years.
Reedy is talking about the blueprint for Maryland's future. In 2021, state lawmakers overrode then Governor Larry Hogan's veto.
The veto is overridden.
And passed the blueprint, which pumps $30 billion additional tax dollars into public education statewide over the first 10 years, and $4 billion additional dollars every year after that. The plan, in part, increases teacher salaries, expands pre-K, and bolsters career and technology training. But when the bill was passed, the legislature did not include a funding mechanism to pay for it. Reedy voted against the blueprint. In 2020, as the law was being debated, Reedy was quoted in the Baltimore Sun saying, based on the impact it would have on the economy, it is beyond a horrible idea.
Education spending was always increasing.
Since then, Reedy has continued to sound the alarm, saying the blueprint is unaffordable. Here he is in 2024, speaking with Project Baltimore.
This is just putting a rocket ship on it without the kind of accountability that's needed.
Here's Reedy again, this past June, after the financial firm Moody's downgraded Maryland's credit rating, citing economic and financial underperformance.
I want us to address the problem.
In 2025, Maryland faced a $3.3 billion budget deficit. To help close the gap, Annapolis passed an estimated $1.6 billion in new taxes and fees. But apparently, it wasn't enough. According to the Maryland Department of Legislative Services, in 2026, Maryland faces a projected $1.4 billion budget shortfall, with education spending being a central driver of Maryland's rising expenditures. According to DLS, the state does not have enough money to meet the demands of the blueprint, and the deficits are expected to grow in the coming years.
Sometimes people like to say, I told you so. I don't take any real joy in the fact that we're in this situation.
Reedy tells Project Baltimore the solutions have not changed. He's been saying it for years. The blueprint for Maryland's future must be repealed, amended, or significantly delayed in its implementation. If one of those things does not happen, Maryland, Reedy says, will continue to see budget deficits every year. Meaning, your taxes and fees could keep going up.
We can't just keep thinking there's this inexhaustible well of money out there that's with the taxpayers. We have to live with what's coming in and make the choices around that, just like a family or a small business would.
The Public Schools Superintendents Association of Maryland last month sent this letter to state education leaders asking them to consider revising the blueprint for Maryland's future while seeking solutions that are educationally sound and fiscally responsible. We have posted this letter, if you would like to read it, onto our website, foxbaltimore.com. We will stay on this story. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And so will I. You know, tax rates are going to go up. And we don't want to raise taxes. We get that this plan wants to help out the kids, but what about the taxes? Excuse me, what about the taxes? There was not one person to let this thing go and went and asked somebody, wouldn't this raise the tax rate? And then someone said, don't worry about the tax rate. We'll worry about that when we get to that. Well, maybe they should watch this report and say, when that one person was concerned, watch that story, go up to the board angrily and go, I told you so, motherfucker. I told you so. That's how I feel. This is how I would have felt like a piñata. This is how I would have felt like. If this would be me. It's like, hey, we're gonna play Beacon's Taxpayer Piñata. Spin you around, spin you around, spin you around. Okay. I can't get the money. I must be concerned about the money. Oh, is this money right here? Just finish the blindfold here real quick, and then we can see one with the joke. I can't get the tax dollars out. I'm gonna be low. I'm trying all I can. And then one hit would have been. Even better. Ow! Oh! My children! That would have been a gripping piñata game. Not tense. It's like, ow! Ow! My favorite was always, oh. It's a piñata game, and us taxpayers are trying to get that piñata full of money after drinking Tapatio sauce from the ton. Oh, I gotta get the money to get some milk. When all of a sudden, capsaicin is just lashed on your tongue and can resist soap and water. So what have we learned today, boys and girls? Save your fucking money. Save your shit. Because no one wants to see higher tax rates coming. That's what we learned. That's what we learned today. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Earlier in today's broadcast, we showed you a Project Baltimore story about a teacher who was arrested, and lawmakers who want laws passed to prevent this from ever happening again. Now there's an updated update to the story. Here again, Chris Papps.
Parents are just like, what has happened to our school system?
Maryland State Delegate Lauren Arkan represents Harford County. On Monday, she sent this letter to Harford County Public Schools, calling on the district to investigate its hiring.
I'm excited to be your child's 8th grade English language arts teacher here at Edgewood Middle School.
Of this man, Lawrence Smith.
I think there's a lot of unanswered questions still.
Arkan's letter follows a similar request for an investigation sent to the district last month by Harford County Executive Bob Casserly.
And I think the public deserves to know, when they're hiring teachers, what are the protocols that are supposed to be used? Were they actually followed?
In September 2023, Smith a former Baltimore City Schools police officer.
What are you going to tell your players?
And state champion football coach, was arrested and charged with 15 federal counts, many related to overtime fraud. This past August, as he awaited trial, Harford County Schools hired Smith to be an 8th grade English teacher on a conditional teaching license.
Do you have any statements that you want to make to the community?
In October, Smith pled guilty to felony wire fraud and income tax evasion. He admitted to stealing $215,000 in overtime from Baltimore City Schools. After he pled guilty, Harford County Schools placed Smith on administrative leave, where taxpayers continued to pay him his nearly $58,000 salary for about a month.
Why did you steal $215,000?
Smith now faces a maximum of 25 years in prison. His sentencing date has not been set.
Did you know of his hiring when he was hired?
I did not know of his hiring when he was hired.
Harford County Schools Superintendent Dr. Sean Bolson told Project Baltimore last month,
I've understood the decision.
When Smith was initially hired, he was not made aware.
It's truly an honor to be a part of your child's academic journey.
But he supports his district's decision to hire Smith to teach at the middle school.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Aaron Poynton, the president of the Harford County Board of Education, said Smith's alleged crimes at the time of his hiring did not legally disqualify him from employment under current state law.
It did not raise a red flag that prohibited him from being hired, and he was the most qualified person to be hired.
So you're saying the most qualified person that you had to be an 8th grade English teacher had 15 federal charges against him and had just received his conditional teaching license?
We hire a lot of conditional teachers. And the fact that he had charges that were pending did not disqualify him from being hired.
It feels very much like the system is very broken and that it's just not working for the people anymore.
Arakan told Fox 45 News she is currently drafting legislation to help strengthen background checks for educators. Arakan believes if someone has been charged with certain felony crimes, that person should not be eligible to teach in Maryland public schools until the criminal charges have been resolved in court.
If the law needs to be changed, we will change it.
The legislation, Arakan said, should be finalized by the start of the 2026 legislative session in Annapolis, which begins on January 14th.
If the teachers that they look up to are people who are scamming the system, ripping off the taxpayers, stealing money from people, I think most parents don't want that kind of person teaching their children.
Harford County Public Schools, so far, has not publicly agreed to investigate the hiring of Smith. The district said it did conduct a formal review, which Fox 45 News has filed a public records request to obtain. In January, when Arakan introduces her legislation in Annapolis, we will follow the bill as it moves through the General Assembly. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Which is next month, and we'll let you know what happens on a future broadcast. So what do you think? Should the school be investigating something like this? I want to hear from you. Give me some feedback via the comment section below or by a poll. Do you think the school should start investigating this teacher who was accused, who had 15 charges? And also another question. Do you think this law will be passed in January, or will this law be revoked? I want to hear your responses to this question, and we'll have the results in January on a future Give Me a Break in 2026. We'll have the results soon on Give Me a Break. Now it's time for a question, which is, how would you feel if your brother came to you with Now it's time to look at Corbin. That's time for this question. How would you feel about putting a hot chocolate bar or replacing your parents' couch with a Skee-Lit? Would it be funny or would it be a pain in the ass for your parents? Or even how about putting a wine pump in your parents' house? 6.2 million views from Corbin. It's not spelled.
Putting a wine gas pump in my parents'
A few
house.
weeks ago, I made my dad a whiskey gas pump, but my mom did not like it. So to make up for it, I made her own gas pump filled with wine.
What are you doing?
You see what this is?
A wine dispenser? Honestly, I had a really long week. Yeah, I could use this.
You know, I'm glad you love it. Grab a wine glass. Oh, look at
I
that.
need a bigger wine glass. How your dad always wants to keep the stupid shit. We're keeping this,
I'm
and
glad-
we're gonna keep filling it up. How your dad's always calling his friends. Well, tonight's a wine night. I'm gonna call my friends. We're having wine tonight. If nobody's always posting stupid shit, I'm posting this.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
smiling.
Oh, find me something that I can.
Where's my glass?
No, nothing for you.
Ooh, I didn't know it was coming out hot.
You have to make a fucking mess. You can think
This is
without
my
making
first time using a wine pump. Knew that happiness wasn't gonna last.
Because you get involved. If you did more cool things like this, I wouldn't be so pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
Think of me.
Oh, he thinks of me. Oh, in order to just keep you happy and not make you mad all the time. Not easy to.
Putting a replacing the water.
Wow. Now let's look at what happened when Corbin tried to put a hot chocolate bar in the parents' house.
Putting a hot
This was
chocolate
just
bar
released.
in my parents' house.
It's been snowing a
There's over
lot where I live, so I
300,000
figured I would
views.
do a nice thing for my parents and have a nice warm drink ready for them when they come home from work.
What is this? Hot chocolate bar? Oh, you got some Baileys. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Woo! I'll make me a real one, because I gotta go snow blow the driveway. Now, this is the proper way to drink in the wintertime. Your mom wouldn't even notice. Why are you on your 15th cup of hot chocolate? It's cold outside. I didn't know you had this big ass thing. I need a bigger cup holder on my snow blower.
Oh, Corbin. This is why your dad has a big Santa mug.
Yeah. Want some hot chocolate?
You know what? Yeah. You got alcohol?
Yeah.
Like, is that what your dad has in his house?
Yeah.
Can you do anything without having some alcohol?
Putting a hot chocolate bar.
Wow. That's giving me a break for this Wednesday. But sorry, that's giving me a break for this Tuesday. I'm John the Carmody. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.